It seems like almost all of my big life events of the past few years have happened around the time of the year change, either the first few months of the year or the last few months of the year. And this year, I think I might have topped them all. First of all, you might have noticed I'm not in my normal filming location, and that's because my normal filming location is no more. We moved, actually, again. You might be thinking, didn't you just move? And yes, I did move a little bit over a year ago, so it has been a little bit of time, but it was not a predicted move. We actually had to move out of our past apartment because it had some serious issues. There was no heat when we moved in, and there was no heat when we visited, and it had been a good couple of months since the last tenant had left. So when we visited the apartment in winter, in December, we didn't really fully realize what we were getting into. Everything seemed fine, the air seemed fine. It had like a very old house smell because it was a very old building, but we didn't really think too much about it because we weren't experienced enough to know the hell that was coming our way. It had serious humidity and airflow problems. So as soon as the temperature started to get warm is when we really started to notice it. Obviously it still existed in the cold winter months, but it really wasn't as obvious to us at that point. So once the heat came and the airflow got even worse, we started to notice that the humidity was way above what it should be. We tried to ventilate constantly, and then we started noticing the mold. It's quite common for old buildings, I know, to have mold here and there, especially like in closets and in bathrooms and things where the airflow is not as good, where there could potentially just be problems from decades of living, of people living there. But the mold was literally growing everywhere. It was growing on things in our main room. I have picture proof to prove that I'm not insane. Things that we had that were literally sitting right next to our windows, which we opened for at least 5 minutes a day. Often, especially in the summer, we would leave them open for hours upon hours just to try and get some airflow in the apartment, and yet things still grew mold. So yeah, obviously not only was that destroying the stuff that we owned, but also it was terrible to breathe in. I felt really bad about Hamlet being in that all the time, despite the fact that we tried to air it as much as possible and we tried to get him out and about. But yeah, it was inevitable that we had to move. We actually got pretty lucky, and the apartment where we're living now is really great. I really love it. Pretty much anywhere you move in Paris, it's gonna be older buildings. They're gonna have problems. They've been rented out to a million different tenants. Maybe a tiny bit of an exaggeration, but several tenants at least have lived in most of these buildings. So there's always problems. You'll never get the perfect apartment, but I am super happy, and I think it actually worked out for the better. So here we are, and this is the new setup that I think I'm gonna go with, at least for the time being. I've got my posters up. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a little, my chair won't move. Oh no. I have my little message board up there that was a gift from some friends. So I'm sort of like experimenting with how I want this to look. I definitely love having a desk background. I wanted one actually in the other apartment. It just didn't work with how the lighting was. And the lighting hopefully will be even better in this room on a non-gloomy day. It was extremely gray and has been all week in Paris, so didn't really get good luck with the lighting today, but yeah. So this is the new setup, and I hope you guys like it, and yeah, new home. The next thing that I have addressed off and on that I haven't like fully sat down and talked about is my novel, which you guys know also happened around the end of the year / beginning of the year. Well, really end of the year. I finished it at the end of November. December, I took a lot of breaks because I had family visiting me in early December, then of course Christmas and New Year's. So I didn't get a ton of time to work on it in December, but it was probably a good thing because I finished my revisions. The first draft I finished a few months before that. Then I did a full round of revisions, chronological from beginning to end, reread everything. It was really focused on plot, but I also worked on line editing because I had such a detailed draft that I worked off of for my first draft. My first draft really, it didn't have a lot of huge plot issues because I worked through those when I was doing like the outline, the very detailed outline. So it was in pretty good shape already, but even though I've done the full revision now, I mentioned in my last video, I think, that I am continuing to revise a little bit. It's just a little bit on the long side. I really think it's in a good state in terms of the story. I really don't want to cut anything big out of the plot, but I am cutting it down a little bit because I do want the word count to be something a bit more digestible and a bit more attractive to potential literary agents, because I will start querying quite soon. Basically what I'm doing for my edits right now is not a big full revision like my other one. I'm not doing a chronological thing, but right now I'm going through and I'm looking for filler words, I'm looking for wordiness in general, because I mean probably all writers have a little bit of this tendency, but especially me, I feel like occasionally I can get a little bit flowery with my prose, and I just want to work on that. I want to kind of make everything succinct and make it much more readable, and also of course cut the word count, which is the big goal right now and really what I'm looking for. I'm also going to be looking specifically at a couple of different sections in the book where I probably could cut out parts of scenes, maybe full scenes. I think I did pretty well, like I said, because I had such a detailed draft in my head, or not even in my head, I had it written out scene by scene. I really do think that most of my scenes are very essential, but I'm also thinking that I might write a sequel. I might not jump straight into it. I really do want to focus on this book before I start distracting myself with another book, but I do think that there is a sequel that I will want to write later this year, next year. So I think maybe there are some things that I can exclude from this book and put them into the next book. Basically, I'm just trying to trim the fat of the book as much as possible without having to sacrifice plot, without having to sacrifice characterization, but really just make it as tight as possible. And I think I can get it down to a decent word count. Right now, I'm just below 130,000. I actually managed to, in the past few days of revisions, I managed to cut it down to about 129,000, or maybe it was a little bit less than that. I don't remember exactly the word count, but I have managed to shave off a few hundred words just by looking for filler words, looking for little things that don't really need to be there. And I'm hoping to cut it down to a maximum of 120,000. So wish me luck, that's a lot of words. I'd like to do a dedicated writing video as well and sort of talk a little bit more into what I've been doing for revisions and how I did my last revisions, because I know I did do at least one writing vlog during revisions, or writing revisions vlog I think I called it, but I didn't really do a ton because I really got absorbed by the book itself and I stopped vlogging when I was writing, which is kind of a shame because I really love doing the revisions vlogs and the writing vlogs in general, but I got a bit distracted and a bit like sucked into my book. If you guys are interested in seeing a revisions either vlog or just a video like this, like a sit down video talking about my revisions, please do let me know because I would love to do that, and I do want to do another writing video very soon. The other pretty significant change that's happened in my life recently is with my full-time job. So I don't normally talk about it too much on my channel. That's not going to change. I don't mix my YouTube channel with my full-time job, or at least hardly at all, but I do occasionally talk about certain aspects of it. You might remember early last year, I did transition into a different job. I'm no longer working there. I'm not gonna go into details about why. There's a lot of reasons. Maybe at some point I'll chat about stuff that I learned from that experience, but basically all you need to know is that it wasn't a good fit. Starting this year, I have a new job, and one that I am super excited for and I think is an amazing fit. I'm again not gonna go into details, but I will just tell you guys that it is within the realm of classical music. Huge passion of mine. It's never been something that I ever thought I would get to make a part of my job. I love writing, I love creating on YouTube, but I just didn't think that I'd be able to mix, I guess, my social media management, professional life, and my creative sort of side in that way with classical music. So I am so excited to be doing social media in this sort of industry and in this realm. As of right now, I have finished my very first full week on the job at the office. It's crazy to transition from holidays and before that working from home and traveling into office work again, but I think it's going to be absolutely great. It was a lot of stress for the first week. Obviously, being the noob at a full-time job is crazy stressful sometimes. You kind of dive headfirst into this world that everyone around you has been a part of for a very long time, or at least a good several months, and you're the total noob in there like trying to catch up on all the details. So yeah, my brain has been pretty fried all of this week. I haven't been very active on social media, I know, but that will change as I get used to everything, as I adjust to the new job, and as I figure out what I'm doing. I'm also very excited to start posting a little bit more regularly here, to start posting more on Instagram, which I absolutely love, and I'm sort of trying to think what angle exactly I wanted to go with my Instagram. I'm not thinking like a theme or anything. I don't think I'm quite Instagram talented enough for a theme. I'm definitely not gonna stick to it. I have tried in the past, but every time after just the first few pictures of a new theme, I found one that doesn't fit my theme, but I really want to post, so that's not my future. But I do sort of want to have a little bit more consistency on my Instagram and have a direction, I guess, with what I'm doing with it. So I'm thinking a little bit about that, but I will be more active in general, even if I haven't decided what I'm doing with it yet. So already in just the first couple of weeks of 2019, there have been a ton of changes, and hopefully continuing on, it will be an exciting year, but with a little bit more consistency. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know these life update sort of things can be hit and miss. Some of you really like them, others get really bored, but if you're really bored, then you probably haven't made it to this part of the video. Regardless, I don't have them very often because usually my life is a tiny bit more consistent than it has been recently. Let me know if there are any videos in particular you want to see. I have a long list of ideas, some of them somewhat developed, others just like a title idea. I'll be working on that a little bit more in the next couple of weeks and hopefully be filming some stuff that is interesting, but definitely let me know if you have any ideas. I'm planning some sort of expat-y videos, of course some writing videos, like I said. That's a high priority for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in the same place, I promise.